Hello everyone, Mark here. Now we are going to listen to podcast news which includes important news from India and around the world. While walking in the morning or evening, while cooking, cycling or during free time you can listen. Listening improves the quality of communication and comprehension. Before going ahead, I would like to welcome you all to the virtual school. A new way of learning and teaching, with the vision of Let's Grow Together. Our mission is to learn how to learn and teach how to teach. So stay tuned. And here we go. May 24, 2021. Important news. Center, majority of states opt to hold Class 12 board exams. States given 3 days for feedback, fewer subjects, shorter papers likely. Upset schedules, Class 12 students at a Chennai school ahead of the examinations last year. K. Pikumani. Priscilla Jebaraj, New Delhi. A broad consensus has been reached among the center and most states that Class 12 board examinations must be held this year despite the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to senior officials who attended Sunday's online consultation on the issue. However, the exams are likely to be shorter in duration, exam centers may be expanded, and schedules may be staggered. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, who chaired the meeting, has given state governments 3 more days to offer feedback, asking them to respond in writing by Tuesday, after which a final decision will be announced. With regard to the Central Board of Secondary Education, students will be informed by June 1st. A vocal section of parents and students have been demanding that the exams be cancelled, and a plea has been filed at the Supreme Court seeking cancellation. However, speaking at the meeting, Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank pointed out the importance of the Class 12 board exams and the All India entrance exams in shaping the future and defining the careers of students, a statement said. An informed, collaborative decision will be taken soon, he said. The center recommended that exams be only held in about 20 major subjects. It also proposed the duration be halved to 90 minutes with only multiple choice or short answer questions. India to push for WHO, EU approval for Covaxin. Concern over travel hurdles for Covaxin recipients. Kolol Bhattacharjee. Faced with concern that Indians receiving the Covaxin vaccine may not get relaxation in travel restrictions, the government has decided to help ensure that Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech receives clearances from both the World Health Organization, WHO, and subsequently, the EU's European Medicines Agency, EMA. According to sources, the Ministry of External Affairs, MEA, has been tasked with studying the matter, given both the need for recognition for the Indian-made vaccine, as well as the desire to push for more export orders in the future, and a team led by Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla and officials from the Health Ministry are expected to meet with Bharat Biotech representatives on Monday. There is certainly an interest in getting Covaxin on WHO's emergency use list, EUL, said an official familiar with the matter, adding that the European regulatory procedures are likely to take longer but are also being pursued. The decision comes as 27 EU member countries on Thursday approved a proposal to allow fully vaccinated tourists from countries outside Europe under certain criteria. While the travelers getting AstraZeneca's Covishield would be included on the WHO and EU's listings, if travel from India is accepted, those who have taken Covaxin would not. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and members of the cabinet are amongst those who have taken Covaxin. Very severe cyclone Yas to hit North Odisha coast. PM reviews preparations, landfall likely on May 26 evening. Brewing worry, the Indian Coast Guard guiding fishermen in view of cyclone Yas. Pti. Shiv Sahai Singh, Kolkata. The depression over east-central Bay of Bengal is very likely to move in a north-northwest direction and intensify into a cyclonic storm. The system Yas is expected to cross the coast in North Odisha, West Bengal between Paradip and the Sagar Islands by the evening of May 26 as a very severe cyclonic storm. Officials at the Regional Meteorological Center in Kolkata on Sunday issued warnings that squally winds of 40 to 50 kmph gusting to 60 kmph are very likely to prevail over North Bay of Bengal and along and off Odisha, West Bengal, Bangladesh coasts from the evening of May 24. It would gradually increase further, becoming 90 to 100 gusting to 110 kmph from 26th morning and increase thereafter, becoming 155 to 165 kmph gusting to 185 kmph at the time of landfall till 26th afternoon, a special bulletin issued by the IMD late on Sunday evening said. PM holds review meet. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday directed senior officers to work in close coordination with the states to ensure safe evacuation of people from high-risk areas. The Prime Minister instructed all concerned departments to ensure timely evacuation of those involved in offshore activities. He spoke about the need to ensure that time duration of outages of power supply and communication network are minimum and are restored swiftly, the Prime Minister's office said in a statement after a review meeting to oversee the preparedness with senior officials. The Weather Office has issued an orange warning of extremely heavy rainfall at isolated places over Jaragram, Medinipur, North and South 24 Parganas, Howrah, Hooghly, Kolkata and West Bengal and Jagat-Singhpur, Kendrapara, Bhadrak, and Balasore in Odisha. Cumulative fatalities cross 3 lakh. Special Correspondent Chennai. India's cumulative COVID-19 fatalities crossed the 3 lakh mark on Sunday. With 3,897 deaths till 9:50 p.m. on Sunday, the country has recorded 3,03,196 overall deaths. Only the United States and Brazil have registered more cumulative fatalities than India. India also recorded 2,09,168 new cases on Sunday. Tamil Nadu reported 35,483 infections, followed by Karnataka, 25,979, and Kerala, 25,820. Maharashtra recorded 894 casualties on the day, followed by Karnataka, 624, and Tamil Nadu, 422. Maharashtra's fatalities include backlog deaths which were missed in the previous reports. The figures do not include cases and deaths from Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Ladakh. The data are sourced from the respective states' health bulletins. As many as 21,23,782 samples were tested on Saturday, the results for which were made available on Sunday, the highest ever number of tests carried out in a single day in the country. This is the 4th instance when the daily tests have crossed the 20 lakh mark. India's average daily test positivity rate continues to decline. It was 22.7% on May 9 and reduced to 13.4% as on May 22. INS Jalashwa brings oxygen to Vizag consignment from Singapore, Brunei. INS Jalashwa arrives in Visakhapatnam with relief material. Special arrangement. Special Correspondent NEW Delhi. In the largest consignment of liquid medical oxygen, the Indian Navy's INS Jalashwa arrived in Visakhapatnam with 300 metric ton of oxygen and more than 3,600 oxygen cylinders from Singapore and Brunei under the ongoing Operation Samudra Setu 2, the Navy said on Sunday. The consignment includes 300 metric ton of liquid medical oxygen, LMO, and more than 3,600 oxygen cylinders from Singapore and Brunei. The COVID-19 medical equipment also includes ventilators and empty cryogenic containers. The INS Tricond brought 40 MT LMO from Qatar, it said. The INS Tricond with 2 LMO containers of 20 MT each and 100 oxygen cylinders arrived at Mumbai. In the first week of May, the Navy had diverted 9 warships deployed on the high seas to various ports in the region extending from Kuwait in the west to Singapore in the east to pick up emergency medical oxygen and other supplies. Cairn Energy verdict highly flawed, Ministry government is vigorously defending case, it says. Special Correspondent New Delhi. The Union government is vigorously defending its case against an international arbitration order asking it to refund $1.2 billion to Cairn Energy over a retrospective tax dispute, the Finance Ministry said on Sunday, asserting that India had never agreed to arbitrate a national tax dispute. The ministry's statement comes over a week after Cairn Energy filed a lawsuit in a U.S. court against Air India, seeking to make the national carrier liable to pay the damages awarded to it, but which are not yet honored by the Indian government. Sharing details of its application in the Hague Court of Appeal against the Arbitration Tribunal verdict for the first time since it was filed on March 22, the government termed the tribunal's December 2020 decision highly flawed. The government has raised several arguments that warrant setting aside of the award, including but not limited to the arbitral tribunal improperly exercised jurisdiction over a national tax dispute that the Republic of India never offered or agreed to arbitrate, the ministry pointed out. Solution under law. The statement said the government remains open for an amicable solution within the country's legal framework and is challenging the arbitration tribunal's award as the claims underlying it are based on an abusive tax avoidance scheme that were a gross violation of Indian tax laws. Such a violation, it argued, deprived Cairn's alleged investments of any protection under the India-UK bilateral investment treaty. Double non-taxation. The award improperly ratifies Cairn's scheme to achieve double non-taxation, which was designed to avoid paying taxes anywhere in the world, a significant public policy concern for governments worldwide. This proceeding is pending. The government is committed to pursuing all legal avenues to defend its case in this dispute worldwide, the ministry said. Two who strayed in from Pakistan sent back, BSF they were handed over to the Pakistani army. On alert, a file photo of a point near the zero line on the India-Pakistan border in Ferozepur, Punjab.r.v. Murthy. Special Correspondent Srinagar. Two Pakistani nationals who crossed the international border, IB, inadvertently into Punjab's Ferozepur sector on May 22 were handed over to Pakistani army on humanitarian grounds. On May 22, alert Border Security Force troops on duty observed that two Pakistani nationals crossed the international border and entered inside India and moved towards border fencing. Sensing the threat and to stop the misadventure, they were subsequently apprehended, a BSF spokesman said. The spokesman said nothing objectionable was recovered from them. During questioning, it came to notice that they had crossed over to Indian territory inadvertently, the spokesman said. The BSF said it lodged a protest with Pakistan Rangers over the incident. On humanitarian grounds, the two Pakistan nationals were handed over to Pakistan Rangers around 7:30 p.m., the BSF said. Minor face-off in Galwan Valley Army denies it, says reports inspired by those trying to derail resolution process. On the frontiers, an Air Force fighter jet flying over the Ladakh region in Leh in January. PTI. Vijata Singh, New Delhi. There was a minor face-off between Indian and Chinese troops in the no patrolling zone at Galwan Valley in eastern Ladakh in the first week of May, a senior government official told The Hindu. However, no clash occurred and the two sides disengaged quickly. A no patrolling zone extending to around 3 kilometers, around 1.5 kilometers each on either side of the clash site near the Y junction of the Galwan Valley, was created after June 15, 2020, when 20 Indian Army personnel were killed in clashes with Chinese troops. A 30-day moratorium was also applied on foot patrolling then. It was not known if it had been extended. The Army, however, said no such minor face-off took place. The article seems to be inspired by sources who may be trying to derail the ongoing process for early resolution of issues in eastern Ladakh, it said in a statement. Regular patrols. After the no patrolling zones were created last year, the two sides occasionally conduct reconnaissance to see if the other side has crossed the line. The patrols are sent at different times. On the particular day, the Indian and Chinese patrols reached the area at the same time, a minor face-off happened, but they returned quickly, the senior official said, adding that China still had camps beyond the no patrolling zone and there had not been any reduction in troop deployment since last year. The official said that both sides sent periodic patrols, out of suspicion. Prior to April-May 2020, when China massed troops at the particular location in Galwan, claiming it to be Chinese territory, Indian troops regularly patrolled the area that is said to be within India's perception of the line of actual control, LAC. Earlier, the Chinese People's Liberation Army, PLA, used to patrol the area and leave, but since April-May 2020, it made a permanent presence within 600 to 800 meters of India's perception of the LAC. On February 11, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh informed the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha that India and China had reached an agreement for disengagement in the Pangong Lake area to cease their forward deployments in a phased, coordinated, and verified manner, which would substantially restore the pre-April 2020 status. Since April 2020, Chinese troops blocked Indian troops from reaching at least 10 patrolling points running from the Dipsang Plains in the north to Pangong Tso Lake, in the south and eastern Ladakh. In all, there are more than 65 patrolling points from the base of Karakoram to Kumar. India and China have held 11 rounds of talks so far after the clashes last year. While the troops partially disengaged on the north and south banks of Pangong Tso, phased disengagement is yet to take place at the other friction areas in eastern Ladakh, Gagra, Hot Springs, Dipsang, and Dumkuk. No pullback. There has been no reduction in the number of troops on either side. China is currently doing some exercise so they have enhanced their presence along the LAC. There was some talk to pull back Indian troops to deploy them on COVID-19 duty. However, that was later ruled out, the official said. On April 2, the Ministry of Defense in a communication to Konkuk Stunjin, Councillor Chushal, said that, due to the present operational situation in Ladakh, grazers have been asked to restrict their cattle movements. Children at limited risk for severe COVID-19 monitor mutant strains, pediatricians. A swab being collected from a child in Hyderabad. AFP. Special Correspondent, New Delhi. Children are at limited risk for severe COVID-19, though they will continue to be susceptible to the infection as well as be transmitters, say the latest guidelines from the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, a 32,000-member association of pediatricians in India. In recent days, there have been concerns that a third wave of the pandemic would hit children harder, largely on the presumption that they were proportionally more likely to be unvaccinated than adults were. The Academy statement, however, notes that the third serology survey, by the Indian Council of Medical Research, had found that the percentage of infected children in the 10 to 17 age group was around 25%, which was similar to that of adults. Two factors that favor children, the Academy statement suggests, is that they have fewer chemical receptors that facilitate viral entry and their immune systems are more primed. However, were a large number to be affected in future waves, that would also result in a substantial proportion of children being afflicted with severe and moderate disease, they add. As per data collected in waves 1 and 2, even instances of severe disease in children are less likely to require admissions in intensive care units, the statement notes. However, we need to be watchful about how mutant strains are likely to behave. Other experts too have opined that children are not more susceptible, but steps must be taken to get them vaccinated. I have no reason to think that infections in children in absolute numbers or in the form of a severe disease will rise. We need to prepare but try to avoid any unnecessary concern or alarm. One of the discourses which is largely missing is the vaccination of children. Aspects such as which will be the most appropriate vaccine for children. What will be the purpose of vaccination in children? In my opinion, while selecting a vaccine for children, preference should be given to one which shows a role in preventing transmission. Maybe, nasal COVID-19 vaccines could be the best option for children, as those will have an advantage in quick scale-up as administration of those vaccines will be easy, Chandrakant Laharia, epidemiologist and public health analyst, told The Hindu in a recent interview. Anxiety, depression top concerns 26,047 calls received at Social Justice Ministry's mental health call centers. Call of duty, medical workers working inside an isolation center in Noida on Sunday. Getty Images. Domini Nath, New Delhi. Anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress have been among the most common problems reported by callers to the Social Justice Ministry's mental health helpline, with many states seeing an increase in calls during the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, according to officials. A senior official from one of the regional centers of the helpline said the increase in number of calls could be partially because the helpline is being promoted as a COVID-19 related mental health resource during the second wave. The official, who wished not to be named, said most of the callers in the past month had raised concerns regarding the second wave of the pandemic after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Some also inquired about vaccination and emergency services, the official said. According to the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities data, a total of 26,047 calls were received by the Kiran helpline till April 30 from September 16, 2020. Rise in Gujarat, Kerala. While the number of calls overall saw a decrease from March, 3,617, to April, 3,371, there was an increase in some states, including Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Haryana, where the number more than doubled from 73 in March to 170 in April. The helpline 1-800-599-0019 was launched by the ministry on September 7, 2020 as a mental health rehabilitation service. Callers are counseled first and are connected with psychiatrists and other experts depending on the need. The majority of the callers had been men and in the age group of 15 to 40, the ministry's report on its functioning from September 16, 2020 to January 15, 2021 had said. Significance of Jayanti. Krishna's Avatara Day is celebrated as Sri Krishna Jayanti. The word Jayanti has a special significance. It is not a reference to one's birthday. It is a word to be used exclusively for Krishna's time of birth, because he was born at a very special time, said May Venkat in a discourse. Krishna was born in an auspicious muhurta, with a rare combination of factors. Krishna was born in the month of Sravana, in Ashtami Tithi, in the star Rohini, and the time of birth was midnight. This muhurta is called Jayanti. This coming together of various factors at a particular time is called Jayanti. Since Krishna was born in the muhurta known as Jayanti, his Avatara Day is celebrated as Sri Krishna Jayanti. Jayanti does not mean birth. It is the name of the very special muhurta in which Krishna was born. It was such a good muhurdha that it would cause even poison to turn into nectar. And we see this in the life of Krishna. Putana tried to kill him through her poisoned milk, but Krishna remained unharmed, and it was she who paid with her life for her wicked attempt. Rama was born in a palace, while Krishna was born in a jail. Rama was born in daytime, while Krishna was born in the night. Rama was born in the month of Chaitra, when the season was spring, Vasanthartu. Krishna was born during the monsoon season, Varshartu. We offer simple fare to Rama on his Avatara day. But for Krishna, the offerings are rich and varied. In Melkote, 30 types of delicacies are offered to the Lord on Sri Krishna Jayanti. The reason for the difference in grandeur between the two celebrations is perhaps because Rama, as a prince, had the best of everything. But Krishna never had such luxuries, and so grand celebrations for him become justified. Thank you. International news. Israeli police allow Jews to visit Flashpoint Jerusalem site. Young Palestinians were cleared out of Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, Islamic Waqf. Help Purzin, a Palestinian laborer empties boxes of aid from an Egyptian aid truck at the Rafah border crossing. Said Katib. Associated Press. Jerusalem. Israeli police escorted more than 250 Jewish visitors on Sunday to a Flashpoint holy site in Jerusalem where clashes between police and Palestinian protesters helped trigger a war in Gaza, according to the Islamic Authority overseeing the site. The 11-day conflict between Israel and Gaza's militant Hamas rulers came to a fragile halt on Friday, but left behind immense ruin in Gaza, including hundreds of homes that have been completely destroyed and many more that were badly damaged, according to the UN. With tensions still high, police cleared young Palestinians out of the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound and barred entry to Muslims under the age of 45, according to the Islamic Waqf, which oversees the site. Muslims who entered were required to leave their IDs with police at the entrance. It said 6 Palestinians were detained, with 4 later released. Israeli police denied there was any age restriction and said they arrested 5 people who violated the public order. Police spokesman Mickey Rosenfeld said the site was open for regular visits and that police had secured the area. The visits later ended without any further incident. Israeli police had briefly clashed with Palestinian protesters after Friday prayers in an early test for the truce, which had taken effect hours earlier. The ceasefire in Gaza has held, but violence in Jerusalem could set off another cycle of escalation. The Waqf said on Sunday was the first time Jews had been allowed to visit the site since May 4, a week before the war broke out. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site in Islam. It sits on a sprawling hilltop in Jerusalem's Old City that is revered by Jews as their holiest site because it was the location of the biblical temples. The site has often been the scene of Israeli-Palestinian violence over the years and was the epicenter of the 2000 Palestinian Intifada, or uprising. Blinken visit. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken leaves this week for West Asia. He told ABC on Sunday that the ceasefire offers a chance to make a pivot to building something more positive. Mr. Blinken said the priorities include addressing the immediate humanitarian situation in Gaza, reconstructing what was lost in the violence and engaging both sides in trying to start to make real improvements in the lives of people so that Israelis and Palestinians can live with equal measures of security, of peace, and of dignity. Lynn Hastings, the UN humanitarian coordinator for the Palestinian territories, said some 300 buildings in Gaza including an estimated 1,000 homes had been completely destroyed. She said hundreds more had been heavily damaged. Congo volcano spares Goma city, 5 die in crash while trying to leave. Trail of destruction, debris engulfing houses in Bushera village near Goma. After Justin Katumwe. Agents France presse Goma. Congo's Mount Nyiragongo unleashed lava that destroyed homes on the outskirts of Goma, but witnesses said on Sunday that the city of 2 million had been mostly spared after the volcano erupted at night and sent thousands fleeing in panic. Authorities said at least 5 people had died in a road crash while trying to leave Goma, but cautioned it was too early to give a death toll in the hardest-hit communities. More than 500 homes had been destroyed, according to Constant Endema, military governor for the affected region. Residents said there was little warning before the dark sky turned a fiery red, leading to fears that the eruption could cause the same kind of devastation as the last time in 2002 when hundreds died. Thousands set off fearing the worst. Some boarded boats onto Lake Kivu while others attempted to reach Mount Goma, the highest elevation point. At least 3,000 fled across the nearby border into Rwanda. On Sunday, residents ventured out to assess the damage after a night of panic. Anti-junta rebels seize police post. kill 13 officials. Upsurge of conflict in parts of Myanmar as various rebel groups are launching attacks on the military. Reuters. Yangon. Fighters opposed to Myanmar's military junta seized a police station in the eastern town of Mabi on Sunday and claimed to have killed at least 13 members of the security forces and captured 4, local media said. Videos shared on social media showed what appeared to be the dead bodies of security forces in the latest attack of a general upsurge of conflict in parts of Myanmar since the February 1 coup that overthrew elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. A gun battle also erupted near the Chinese border early on Sunday, while on Saturday an armed ethnic group opposed to the coup launched an attack on a jade mining town on the other side of Myanmar, near India. Video from Mabi showed bodies in the uniforms of the security forces, while other pictures showed 4 men who were said to be police with their hands behind their backs and blindfolded with surgical masks. A police vehicle was shown in flames as dozens of fighters milled at the scene. The Irrawaddy news outlet quoted a fighter from the People's Defense Forces saying the police station had been set on fire and that 2 civilians had been wounded in the fighting. Reports from other media said up to 15 members of the security forces had been killed. Mabi is around 100 kilometers east of the capital Naypyidaw, but lies near territory held by some of the ethnic armed groups that have fought for greater autonomy for decades. An alliance of 4 ethnic groups opposing the coup battled early on Sunday with security forces in Muse, one of the main border crossings to China, media said. Since the army took power, People's Defense Forces have sprung up to oppose the junta, often armed with shotguns and homemade weapons. The video from Mabi showed at least 1 fighter firing an assault rifle. No access to images of our nuclear sites. Iran. IAEA won't get surveillance pictures. Associated Press. Tehran. Iran's parliament speaker said on Sunday that international inspectors may no longer access surveillance images of the Islamic Republic's nuclear sites, escalating tensions amid diplomatic efforts in Vienna to save Tehran's atomic accord with world powers. The comments by Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf, aired by state TV, further underscored the narrowing window for the US and others to reach terms with Iran. The Islamic Republic is already enriching and stockpiling uranium at levels far beyond those allowed by its 2015 nuclear deal. Regarding this, and based on the expiration of the 3-month deadline, definitely the International Atomic Energy Agency will not have the right to access images from May 22, Mr. Kalibaf said. Hours later, however, a website called Nour News that's believed to be close to Iran's Supreme National Security Council quoted an anonymous official suggesting Tehran's deal with the IAEA could be extended another month. The International Atomic Energy Agency had said its Director General would brief reporters later Sunday in Vienna. The UN agency did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Under what is called an additional protocol with Iran, the IAEA collects and analyzes hundreds of thousands of images captured daily by its sophisticated surveillance cameras, the agency said in 2017. The agency also said then that it had placed 2,000 tamper-proof seals on nuclear material and equipment. Iran's hardline parliament in December approved a bill that would suspend part of UN inspections of its nuclear facilities if European signatories did not provide relief from oil and banking sanctions by February. The IAEA struck a 3-month deal with Iran to have it hold the surveillance images, with Tehran threatening to delete them afterward if no deal had been reached. It wasn't immediately clear if the images from February had been deleted. Before Kalibaf's remarks, lawmaker Ali Reza Salimi urged an open session of parliament to ensure Iran's civilian nuclear arm erased the images. The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran did not immediately comment on the decision. Order the head of the Atomic Energy Organization to avoid delay, said Mr. Salimi, a cleric from Iran's central city of Delijan. The recorded images in the cameras should be eliminated. It also wasn't clear what this meant for in-person inspections by the IAEA. In Bangladesh, anti-graft scribe freed after outcry. She was held under Official Secrets Act. Agents France Prasad Haka, a Bangladeshi journalist, who is known for her strong reporting on official corruption, was released from jail on Sunday, hours after a court in the nation's capital awarded conditional bail amid protests at home and abroad calling for her release. Razina Islam, a senior reporter for the leading Protham Alo newspaper, had been held in detention since her arrest on Monday. "I will most certainly continue working as a journalist," Ms. Islam told a small crowd of supporters and journalists after leaving the jail outside Dhaka. Her family said she would go to a hospital for a health checkup. Ms. Islam was arrested after she allegedly used her cell phone without permission to photograph documents related to government negotiations to buy COVID-19 vaccines, while she waited in the room of an official involved in the process, according to case documents seen by the Associated Press. She faces charges of violating the Colonial-Era Official Secrets Act, which carries a possible death penalty. Bangladesh's Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen on Thursday said he regretted the arrest and said Ms. Islam would receive fair justice. Several of Ms. Islam's hard-hitting reports on corruption involving the health ministry and others have drawn attention to the millions of dollars spent on procuring health equipment to deal with the pandemic. UK to unveil plans for digital border. People coming to Britain without a visa or immigration status will need an ETA. Priti Patel. Agence France Presse London. Britain is to announce plans for a fully digital border, including the introduction of U.S-style electronic travel authorization to pre-check travellers to the UK, Interior Minister Priti Patel said on Sunday. The minister will announce the plans in Parliament on Monday as part of a wider overhaul of the country's immigration system, which will also include the introduction of a points-based migration system. Keeping count. Our new fully digital border will provide the ability to count people in and out of the country, giving us control over who comes to the UK, Ms. Patel said in a statement. Our new approach will make it easier to identify potential threats before they reach the border, she added. Digitizing the border will mean officials can now count who is coming in and out of the country and whether they have permission to be here, said her Home Office department. Ms. Patel unveiled elements of her new plan for immigration in March, calling it the most significant overhaul of our asylum system in decades. Tightening immigration rules and securing borders were key promises of those like Ms. Patel and Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who argued for leaving the EU in Britain's 2016 Brexit referendum. Under the new plans to be unveiled on Monday, Ms. Patel is set to announce that people coming to the UK without a visa or immigration status will have to apply for an American-style electronic travel authorization, ETA. The Home Office expects that around 30 million ETA applications will be processed each year. What I'm unveiling and proposing tomorrow is a new legal migration and border strategy, which is based upon digitalization of our borders, but also the simplification of our immigration laws, Ms. Patel told Sky News on Sunday. I am introducing the new Borders Bill, which will come to Parliament next month, where we will specifically clamp down and tackle the problems around illegal migration, she added. We will have not just greater checks, we've already got very significant law enforcement operations taking place in France, in Belgium, and we're really prosecuting and arresting the people smugglers. Last year, roughly 8,500 people arrived in Britain having made the perilous crossing across the Channel, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, in boats. Belarus diverts flight to arrest blogger Lukashenko. Orders warplane to escort Vilnius-bound Boeing to Minsk, angering EU. A file photo of blogger Roman Protasevich. Reuters stringer. Reuters Moscow. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko ordered a Ryanair flight headed for Lithuania and carrying a young opposition blogger to land in Belarus on Sunday and detained him on arrival, prompting Lithuania to call for a NATO response. Law enforcers detained activist Roman Protasevich, 26, who had been put on a wanted list after last year's mass street protests following an election in which Mr. Lukashenko claimed a landslide victory. The aircraft, flying from Athens to Vilnius, had almost reached Lithuania when it changed direction and was escorted to the Belarusian capital of Minsk amid reports that it had explosives on board, according to an online flight tracker and state news agency Belta. Mr. Lukashenko personally ordered the warplane to escort the Boeing to Minsk, Belta reported. No explosives were found, it said. The European Union said on Sunday that all passengers on board the Ryanair plane must be allowed to resume their journeys immediately. Any violation of international air transport rules must bear consequences, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said. Call for NATO response. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda condemned Belarus's actions, demanding Protasevich be released and calling on for an international response. I call on NATO and EU allies to immediately react to the threat posed to international civil aviation by the Belarus regime. The international community must take immediate steps that this does not repeat, Mr. Nausėda said. Lithuanian presidential advisor Astis Kaiskarytė said the operation to force land the plane carrying around 170 people from 12 countries seemed to be pre-planned. She said Belarus intelligence services knew who was on board the plane, which was forced to land with the help of MiG-29 fighter jet. Mr. Protasevich had lived in Vilnius since November, she said. Lithuania and traditional Russian ally Belarus are neighbors and former members of the Soviet Union. Lithuania is now a member of the EU, Belarus is not. CDC studying heart inflammation in some young vaccine recipients. It typically occurs within 4 days after receiving mRNA dose. Reuters, Washington. Some teenagers and young adults who received COVID-19 vaccines experienced heart inflammation, a U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention advisory group said, recommending further study of the rare condition. The CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, in a statement dated May 17, said it had looked into reports that a few young vaccine recipients, predominantly adolescents and young adults, and predominantly male, developed myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle. The condition often goes away without complications and can be caused by a variety of viruses, the CDC group said. CDC monitoring systems had not found more cases than would be expected in the population, but members of the Committee on Vaccinations felt that healthcare providers should be made aware of the reports of the potential adverse event, the committee said in the statement. It did not say how many people had been affected and recommended further investigation. The CDC said the cases typically occurred within 4 days after receiving the mRNA vaccines. It did not specify which vaccines. The United States has given emergency authorization to 2 mRNA vaccines, from Moderna Inc. and Pfizer/BioNTech. Israel's health ministry in April said it was examining a small number of cases of heart inflammation in people who had received Pfizer's vaccine, though it had not yet drawn any conclusions. Most of the cases in Israel were reported among people up to age 30. Pfizer at the time said it had not observed a higher rate of the condition than would normally be the case in the general population and that a causal link to the vaccine had not been established. Pfizer and Moderna did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Saturday. The CDC in late April, after news of the Israeli investigation, said it did not see a link between the two. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video as podcast. Do like, share and comment. Press the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get new notifications. Thank you. Take care and